Privilege this afternoon to this morning to discuss some tech challenges with us in the next 10 minutes. And I think wherever we reach in 10 minutes, I will stop the discussion and we may continue another time. I will be brief as much as possible and I will not change our time. It is important for us to realize that there are some challenges that some individuals who may likely have struggled so hard in life at the beginning of their lives, and at the point of retirement, we notice that some of the health conditions they neglected or not properly managed at the same time or not well cared for suddenly arises when they are retiring from service, and when you monitor them over some time, you notice that you don't see them around again. So it becomes very disturbing. After they have worked so hard, they might not be really ready to enjoy the fruit of their hands, and that shall not be our portion. So the consideration this morning is to look at those risk factors that may likely predispose individuals to health challenges and what do we need to do. I'm supposed to talk on stroke, but the emphasis is on risk factors. What is stroke? We need to know that stroke is a common condition that will happen in middle age and in adult age, in the elderly age. And this stroke is very disturbing when you notice that somebody just wake up and discovers that he cannot move his leg again. He cannot talk again, he cannot communicate the way he used to before, and before you know what's happening, he becomes very depressed and is worried about life and it will happen at any time. So stroke will lead to cause from blockage of blood vessels to the brain or a leakage of blood vessels to the brain. So in most instances, two commonest causes: ischemic stroke, that is the sudden block of blood flow to certain areas of the brain, and that is ischemic stroke. The individual may wake up and discover that he cannot move his legs or his hands, and very, very depressing. The mood will become very depressive, depending on the area that has the insult to the brain, and the extent of insult to that brain will determine how long the individual may live. The second one is called hemorrhagic stroke. That's it. The sudden burst of the blood vessels to the brain. Just like any pipe in any house that supplies water, this can also burst and cause leakage in the brain. Vessels that supply the areas of the brain can burst. And when they leak or cause open blood flow into the tissues of the brain. Unfortunately, in most instances, the brain does not have space to accommodate those blood that flows into them. The brain does not have the space. The skull bone covers the brain cells and does not provide adequate space. That's why sometimes when people develop stroke, they have sudden headache. And when they bleed into the brain, the headache can be very disturbing. Flowing headache that is not relieving, even with medication, is because there's no space to accommodate the blood that is inside it. It must be evacuated. And to evacuate it, we might have to pass a lot of challenges, both monetary challenges and some common factors. I'm an experience of a particular individual at a workplace at one particular time, young breadwinner of the family, noticed very well that he's hypertensive and is engaged in union activities. Those were days when there were union activities in certain centers of government parastatals. And they believed that there would be disruptions, causing problems at workplace, causing toxic environment at workplace. He was elected to be secretary of the union. He knew very well his hypertension. He knew very well that his work is stressful and he joined the unionism, knowing fully well that he's going to engage himself in activities that is going to stress him out. He was involved in court cases, and you know what court cases means. Having several meetings, one morning, he was rushed down to President and emergency unit, and he wasn't breathing again. When they examined what happened, he has blood in the brain. The head was opened up, so an autopsy had to be done for sudden cause of death. When the brain was opened up, there was hemorrhage, blood inside the brain. And that was the end of that life. Young man, vibrant individual. So the points we are trying to mention is prevention, very, very important. How do you prevent these sudden occurrences? And those are the risk factors for stroke. The commonest risk factor is systemic hypertension. Very, very common in individuals. If you sample to 50% of individuals in these days, you will notice that more than 50% are hypertensive. Unfortunately, we try to give spiritual correlation to diseases, and people first, most diseases they have, may have been from which is a wizard, may have been from family issues, or otherwise. But it's important to address those issues because if they are not addressed, they are going to cause future problems to the individuals. How do we address certain systemic hypertension? It has to do with our lifestyle. Our lifestyle. The major problems individual can have originates from its foundation, what is inherited, essentially from the environment. So from the environment, or from what is inherited, people develop systemic hypertension. And they are very, very common among us. And we must do everything possible to make sure that those factors are controlled. If systemic hypertension are not controlled, the individual is living at a time when he may not know anything that happens to him. And unfortunately, most of us don't want to hear that he has systemic hypertension. We don't even want to check. Some will even say, please, I don't want to check my blood pressure. I don't want to check it because it's always high. And unfortunately for such individual, ignorance is a problem. He's not checking, he doesn't want to check. So he doesn't know that he's carrying a silent killer. He's a silent killer. He's not checking, he's not doing anything about it. But he's carrying a risk factor that can stop him at any day. It can stop individuals in their functions, can stop individuals when they have achieved so much, when they're supposed to enjoy what they have started. A particular person who was very high personality last week, a few days ago, died inside his office. In one particular state in South Africa. And people were wondering what happened, why did he just stop and die? One of his kinsmen said, this man does not rest at all. I know him very well. 2 hours meeting is always there. Doesn't designate responsibility. He attends every meeting. He's always there. A politician, executive director in his own state, and suddenly he collapsed inside his office. And they rushed him down to his own federal medical center in his own state. Unfortunately, we cannot trust the state of our health system. They are in deplorable status. It's better we prevent than going there with complications. When we try to go there with complications, the system is deplorable. Unfortunately, there was no defibrillator to bring his heart back to life when he has heart arrest. There was non-existing defibrillator to bring him back to life. The EC machine were not functioning. Unfortunately, he would have been in a position to help that system, but he could not help the system. When he needs the system, he could not be helped. And that's the state of our health factors. So we should be preventive. Rather than thinking, God forbid, that's hypertension, always say, God forbid. So we must check. We must look into our foundation, our fathers and our mothers. If the mechanics of hypertension, the mother has mechanics of hypertension, you have a risk of carrying systemic hypertension. And you need to modify the lifestyle before hypertension occurs. So hypertension is one of the commonest causes of stroke. And what it does is damage the blood vessels. As blood vessels are damaged every day, high blood pressure, and you are not controlling it, it will come a time when they will not be able to help you to live well. Be careful of our lifestyle, and we do not have correct hypertension. Don't dismiss when you have hypertension. Having hypertension, always hypertensive, always on medications. Medications were supposed to make sure that the blood pressure are controlled, and they are not abnormalities that can cause complications that could damage body organs. And what are the lifestyle changes? One, a few with it. Avoid high cholesterol diets that could cause occlusion of blood vessels. High cholesterol diets. Most of us don't talk about our diets, and we have never changed our cholesterol levels. They will be very, very high, and they deposit in the intima and inner surface of the blood vessels. When they do that, it becomes narrow and narrow and narrow, eventually it becomes very thin and clot formation or plate formation upon in them. A permanent secretary, in next 3 minutes I will stop this discussion. And we can continue another time. A permanent secretary in the ministry in one of the central area of Nigeria, Middle Belt, discovered very well that he has solidity and he was slowed down to Abuja to have experience. He walked down with his leg into the state of emergency. Unfortunately, he has a hypertension crisis. That means blood pressure has been so suddenly, and there is nothing much that could be done at that time except to wait for interventions that may not work. This is my prayer that God will let us continue to wait for some Jesus' name.